Lisa and I have reached the point that we can no longer sit by and idle and not speak up about our community suffering with the current policies and decisions being made by our county leadership. And that is why we are endorsing and supporting Michael C. Oliveira for District 3 Supervisor. Michael?
This is wonderful. We did not expect this type of turnout. You know, you guys warm my heart, every single person here. I'm a resident here, and to see this type of turnout for our first event, first meet and greet, that tells me you care. I care too. That's why I'm here. I'm not going to waste a lot of time telling you about me, because we need to talk about me. There are a couple of things I want to mention. My background, things of that sort on the website, and it's pretty well documented. We have those local publications here that pick up all the chatter and a lot of good comments about what's going on. But I want to clear just a couple of little items up. I noticed there was mention of my time with the Oakland Police Department. I'm actually from the Oakland Police Department. I retired after 14 years of service. And there was some issue raised with how come 14 years? What's a disability retirement, ladies and gentlemen? On August 7th, 1981, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I got on my Harley-Davidson motorcycle, got my ticket book, and I was a motor cop. At 3:15 in the afternoon, I was laying on Highway 80 with 2 broken legs, a dislocated shoulder, and a severed artery due to an accident I suffered while chasing some armed robbery suspects that just committed an armed robbery. That earned me about 4 months in the hospital, 6 months in a wheelchair, 2 years of surgeries, gas, and I came back. I went back to duty. I went back to duty in the Oakland Police Department as a fatal investigator and continued my career until the city administration decided that they were going to retire all those officers that were injured on light duty that would never be able to work full duty again, in their mind. Thus, my 14-year retirement. That's the way things happen. I hope I've answered that question that was brought up in that periodical. I didn't say that for sympathy, folks. I'm very proud of my service, number 1 in the United States Marine Corps, during the Vietnam era, joining in 1969. My son just got back from Afghanistan. Hey! Got back last week, and he'll be out here in the frog jump days. He's back in North Carolina. He's in the Marine Corps. I'll tell you that story on a personal one-on-one basis. I don't want to take up more time. Since being with the Oakland Police Department, I've had the opportunity to join several great ventures, all being successful. But about 7 years ago, I decided I wanted to go back into law enforcement. And I became a deputy up here in Calaveras County. It's a limited deputy position. It's called the extra hire, where they work the courts and things of that sort. But I wanted to work the street. I was a street cop. So we were able to make some arrangements where I had to go through a field training program, 10 weeks. And I was able to work the street as a patrol deputy as a reserve status without compensation, because we don't have enough money to pay our reserves. And I became the resident deputy up here in Arnold. Since announcing my campaign, that position's been filled by a great young deputy named Kyle Johnson. Yeah. So, Kyle and I are pretty close. We got to keep in touch a lot. But I still do bailiff work. I'm still in Grant Barrett's court as bailiff, and I still have the opportunity to work with a very fine assistant DA, Dana File. I've invited them as guests tonight here. All right, enough about me. Let's talk about what I'm here about. I want to talk about 4 issues that's very important, especially to us up here in Arnold. First thing is jobs. And we'll talk about that in depth a little bit. The second thing is the perceived attitude of a no growth in our county. And when we talk about that, we're talking about our building departments, our planning departments, our administration, and some of the roadblocks that have been put up in front of our national forest accessibility. Some of the things we want to do as homeowners, some of the things we can't do as homeowners, or it becomes so difficult. The third thing I want to talk about is our youth. Folks, we've all been in this area for a long time. Jennifer and I, my wife, I don't know where she's at. We bought our home up here in 2002 in Blue Lake Springs. We loved it. We became permanent residents up here when she finally retired after a third career. And now we enjoy a full-time residency up here. We've seen our youth. I'm talking about 16 to 30-year-old. What happens when they get out of high school? I'll tell you what happens. They either go to college away, because we don't have a college in this county, or they try to find a job. And we all know how successful that could be. You business owners in here, you real estate people, you grocery owners, the real estate people, the bars, the gas stations, the hotels, their parking lots are empty compared to 10, 15 years ago. The tourism, that's gone. We don't have a mountain full of snow right now. We felt it this winter. Ladies and gentlemen, look around at your local merchants right now. They are in survival mode. They are scraping dollars just to keep the doors open. That's not right. We as residents, part-time and full-time, need to save our community. We need to strengthen our community. Now, I don't have a magic ball. I don't have a formula. I don't have a pot of gold. But what I do have is a desire to make this happen. I've got resources that I've been in touch with already. And surprisingly, they came to me. Talking about developers to put in small to medium businesses. Talking about folks that I've had my business here for 15 years and I'm going to have to close my doors. It's not acceptable. I'm sorry. I can't accept that. I have ownership in this county. I have ownership in District 3. And I refuse to allow that to happen. Hopefully God will give me the strength and some folks with some great experience and a little bit of financing to start those projects back up in here in the Arnold and Murphy's area. Maybe even Dorrington up on the hill in the snow.
Yeah.
Our key is our youth. Because if they don't go to college, I see them coming into the criminal justice system. I see our kids do nothing but get in trouble. And once they enter that system, Dana, Brand, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard to get out. Hard to get out. If we can keep them from getting into the system and giving them something to do, something to learn. You know, I'm an old guy. I went to high school and graduated way back when, 1967. We had a program called Work Experience. And that program, for 4 hours a week, you went to a business owner. It could have been a carpenter, it could have been an electrician, it could have been a grocery store, it could have been a 7-Eleven, it could have been a gas. Mine was a gas station. I pumped gas. And for 4 hours a week in your junior and senior year, you got to work for that business owner. He didn't pay you, but you learned skills. You learned how to swing a hammer. You know which way electricity flows. You'll learn the second time. I did that too. You learn how to ring up a cash register. You learn how to answer a phone. You learn how to use a computer. Most of these kids know how to use a computer better than any one of us in this room. But the bottom line, they had workable skills. They had assets. They had, when they got out of high school, they could fill out an application and say, yes, I have done this, and this. Instead of saying, well, I just got out of high school. Well, I took music, which is not a bad deal, Dylan. We give the best opportunity we can to our youth. And hand in hand, we have another responsibility in this county. It's our seniors. Folks, I want you to take just a quick moment to think about why you moved up here. For our retirees, why'd you retire up here? Because you love the place. This is where you want to spend your golden years. If you are not safe in this county, then the county has failed you. We have to have a safe county in order to prosper, in order to bring business in here, in order to raise our kids, in order for us to survive. That's very important. Now I get to talk about something I know a little bit about. Crime. How many people think here we don't have a crime problem? We don't have a crime problem. Our burglary rate has gone down recently by 11%. That's good. Our problems we have with reoccurring crime from what we call our probation department wards, our parolees, we've got state programs to take care of them. Now I've asked the special guests tonight to address some of those issues. And I think Dana, in a file, who we sit next to each court session, and we see that revolving door keep coming in and in and in with no out. I sit next to Grant. As he sits on the bench as commissioner, and look at the problems we have in family law. Look at the problems we have that are consistently increasing. If you don't think we don't have a crime problem here, we need to take another look, make another assessment. We need to make this county a safe county for our seniors, our residents, our part-timers, our full-timers, our tourists, and ourselves. Now, I'm not going to waste any more of your time talking about that. But there is one thing I really have to have your attention. How many people know what our budget deficit is for Calaveras County going into fiscal year 2014-2015? Any guess? Rebecca Calvin is our auditor for Calaveras County. And
that were added in 13-14 and in 12-13 were for public safety.
Does that $8.5 million include the new staffing they need for the new jail?
The $8 million, so it's $8 million, it's just over $8 million, does include the new staffing for the jail. So that's the thing, when we're talking tomorrow to the board about making cuts, we're on the hook for that jail. There's nothing more to talk about on that. We agreed to fund that jail. That was part of the terms of the bond. We agreed with the state when we took the grant money to build the jail, because really the bond funds were used to build the Sheriff's Administration building, and a portion of it was used to be a match against the state funding. So the majority of the money that actually built the jail itself came from the state. We are required to open that jail and to fund that jail. The issue is, what is it really going to cost to run that jail? We don't know. What we do know is that we have to maintain that jail. In order to do that, again, this is going to be on the board tomorrow, is we're going to have an outside contractor who's going to assist us with maintaining that jail on a regular basis. I think it's going to be another 100 for the 13-14 fiscal year, 100 and I had too many numbers on my head today. I think it's another 140,000 for this year, but on an annual basis, it's going to be just over $400,000 just for that contract. So, and we're there's not really any other options to do it. We've tried to run the numbers of looking at internal staffing versus external contracting, and the external contracting is actually cheaper.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have an opportunity to speak with one after we during our little ice cream. I want to talk to you just briefly about something that affects every single one of us here. It's called AB 301, Assembly Bill AB 109. This, in a nutshell, this is a state mandated bill that releases convicted felons that we've sent from our county to state prison. And we have to absorb those people back and run them under a local probation program, a parole program. Now, when I started the research on my campaign about a year ago, I didn't have a lot of education about some of the things we just discussed in the last 15, 20 minutes. But in doing that research, I found out that I needed to go to the experts in the field, people in our own county that have a grasp of what's really happening. Rebecca, Dana, could I have you come up for a moment, please? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dana File. Dana and I we have worked close together here for about 7 years in the courts and investigations. By far, she is one of the better ADAs, not to downplay anybody else, when it comes to enforcement of law and in trial. She is a trial DA. Dana, tell us about AB 109 and how it works.
So I hate to be the bearer of more bad news, but AB 109 basically started because you all know we have an incredibly overcrowded prison system. And in response to that overcrowded prison system, the Supreme Court issued an order saying, hey, California, you have X amount of time to reduce the prison population. It was considered to be cruel and unusual punishment for prisoners to live in an overcrowded prison. In response to that, the governor put forth AB 109 into law. And basically what that did was it took about roughly 500 felony crimes, and right off the bat, no individual convicted of those crimes can go to state prison. They will be housed locally in our county jail, along with the people who are already taking up the bed spaces of our county jail. So our new jail is going to help offset that a little bit, but it really doesn't address the overall problem, which is the shifting of the state government handling the prison population, the parolees that come out of prison. The state used to handle all of that. Now, primarily, those functions have been shifted to local county governments. So what, in effect, it did was it shut the prison doors for a lot of offenders. The common term is only, the non-non-nons can't go to prison. So the non-non-nons are non-sex offenses, non-serious offenses, and non-violent offenses. So if you're convicted of a sex crime, thankfully you still go to prison. If you're convicted of some specific serious and violent crimes, you can still go to prison. Serious and violent is a term of art in criminal law. It doesn't mean, popping somebody in the face and breaking their nose. That is not considered a serious and violent crime for the purposes of AB 109. Primarily, there are about 33 crimes that one can still go to state prison, right off the bat. They're your bigger crimes: murder, rape, robbery, strong-arm robbery, burglary where people are at home, things like that. But the majority of your crimes you can no longer go to jail for. Individuals who used to come out on parole would have a parole agent. They no longer have a parole agent. They are issued back to the county where they went to prison from, and the local probation department has to supervise that individual that they couldn't supervise the first time that actually sent them to prison. So now they're faced with having to not only supervise the current probation population that we have, but they're also getting all of the parolees who come out. Those individuals are termed PRCSs, the Supervised Release Community Program. What is that? PRCS. Yeah. And so those individuals are also supervised by probation on top of their regular caseload. When an individual violates parole, they used to go back to prison. Well, no longer. Now they can be incarcerated for a maximum of 180 days. That's it. And then they're off parole. It's disheartening because we see this complete revolving door. And unfortunately, because our jails are already crowded, the individual who's on parole, instead of saying, help rehabilitate me with all the good programs that we have, will say, hey, just send me to jail. It'll happen that I will sentence somebody in the morning to, let's say, 365 days in county jail, and he's already out on the street before I get out of court in the afternoon. That's very disheartening. But criminals become savvy, and so instead of taking probation and trying to make a go out of it, they just say, hey, incarcerate me, because they know they're not going to serve a day in jail. They're not going to serve an hour in jail. So, in a nutshell, that is what AB 109 is. It's a solution to our overcrowding problem. Is it a good solution? I don't know. That'll remain to be seen. You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a question and answer period. You'll be able to talk to Rebecca and Dana and me and anybody else you want to talk to. But I would like to have actually a point of view from a person that does sit on the bench and is running for the same position as judge. And I can honestly say he's a good friend of mine because I'm the bailiff in his court. He takes care of me. Grant Barrett, please. Ladies and gentlemen, Grant Barrett.
Good evening. I really actually want to get to the ice cream, so I'm going to try. He's a good man. I trust him with my life. I have to, but I do trust him with my life. I do a lot of family and civil in the courts. The AB 109 issue is a scourge for the state. The state has put forward sentences that we must impose, but it shut the prison. And so we're caught in the catch-22. Like a lot of issues for the county, as people have brought up, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. We don't create the law, we have to follow the law, and the state keeps changing the law on us, giving us more responsibility and less money to do it with. We don't have enough judicial or enforcement or incarceration resources to handle our existing cases, and they keep pushing stuff down from the state, and there's not much we can do but continue to fight. So all I can encourage you to do is become informed about the candidates that you have. These are some very important positions that are turning over in this election. There is a generational shift going on. I can't stress how important this vote is for the future of Calaveras County. And that's all I'm going to say to that. So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we'll be able to address each person here that spoke tonight individually. If you have a specific question you don't feel comfortable bringing up in front of the crowd. Now, it's my turn to brag. All I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to do this job like I did the Sheriff's Department job. I did it because I want to do it. I hold my personal life with integrity, honesty, and I know that this job, as your supervisor, is going to involve some pretty tough cuts. Some things we're not going to be all happy with. But frankly, wouldn't you have to have somebody that wants to do this job make those decisions, listening to his constituents? I think I would. Then take about 5 seconds right now. How's the last 20 years been for you? You been happy? Think you got a fair shake? Keep that in mind when you mark that ballot on June 3rd. I'm here as long as you want me. I think we'll take some questions and answers now. Anybody have a question for me? Tim.
On one of the online medias, there was somebody was questioning what your position was on Candy Rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me make this perfectly clear. You haven't heard that term before, have you? Candy Rock. I am an NRA member. I'm a handgun instructor. I'm a former Marine, which I'm very proud of. I'm a law enforcement officer. I will do what I possibly can in my power to open Candy Rock back up as best I can, because that's the safest place to shoot. What's happened, ladies and gentlemen, is we've closed down Candy Rock. We've restricted it so much that our folks in this county and our part-time tourists that come up here have to go out in the national forest and shoot recreational in areas that's probably not going to be very safe. Has anybody been to Candy Rock recently and saw how that place is situated and what it looks like? Yep. Anybody here go to Front Sight? You ever hear of Front Sight? Front Sight. I'm a very avid member of Front Sight. That's located in Pahrump, Nevada. What a facility. If you got some time on a computer, bring up Front Sight, see what their facilities are like. They put 2,000 people a day through that. And they all come out, and I got to be honest, they all come out probably as good as, if not better than any law enforcement officer I come against. We have to maintain our national forest for the betterment of all of our residents, not a select few. I'm a staunch supporter of Candy Rock, and I will do everything in my power to make that a successful operation without the restrictions.
Will there be more, less stupid people out there?
She's got a good point.
Yeah.
She's got a good point. Well, hopefully through firearm safety education and enforcement of rules out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I used to get a lot of calls at Candy Rock. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the National Forest. You can shoot as long as you're not shooting within 150 feet of a residence, and it's done in a safe manner. We handle those calls day in, day out. And 95% of them are done in a safe manner. The other 5% we educate, or they don't shoot. Everybody lives in this county. Everybody lives in our forest. Everybody lives in Arnold. Everybody lives in Murphy's. Everybody lives in Dorrington. They live up at Sky High. Everybody. We all got to get together, folks, and we can do it.
Yes.
We can do it. We just got to get together. We got to build a team. We got to strengthen our communities together.